In the cinematic sea of prequels, sequels, reboots, and reimaginings, the Movie Retakes podcast considers the merits, needs, and desires for Hollywood's new takes on beloved movie classics. Brothers Chris and Matt Sully ask the questions, should they make it, or should they just leave it alone?
Always a good question. Hi, this is Matt Sully here.
And this is Big Brother Chris Sully.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful art. Give yourselves a round of applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely.
I've done a little podcasting and looking forward to continuing this one with my brother. Passion project for us both. We thought we'd do something that hones in on one of our favorite things in the world, and that is movies. And this week...
Well, we've got Coming to America and Coming to America 2. We're talking about both.
The concept to our podcast here, I think we should probably throw that out there just in case it's a first-time listener, is we both watched the film recently, and then we are going to kind of dissect it a little bit, talk about it, and then we're going to each give a pitch on what we think a sequel, prequel, continuation, a series, or as we like to deem it, a retake of some sort. Is it necessary, and what would that be? We're going to actually give you a pitch of our idea.
Yeah, and so this is an example of something that is already, well, not in the works. It's done. It's going to come out soon, Coming to America 2. Or rather, I think it's Coming to America with the number 2 as... I'm just going to keep saying Coming to America 2 because otherwise it's going to be confusing. 2020 Coming to America. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, the sequel to Coming to America will be coming out shortly. And prior to anyone seeing that, it's going to be a lot of fun to give our own pitch on what we think the movie should be. And then later on, we'll find out how were either of us right? Was everyone wrong? Did they get it right? Did we get it right? Whatever. And that'll be pretty interesting to see.
Or if they got it horribly wrong, can we just slap a big I told you so on there, and Reddit can take our idea to Hollywood and they'll go, hey, there's a great idea. We should have gone with that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm hoping it's maybe 50-50 where we see the movie and we're going to be like, you know what, that was really good. That's better than what we had pitched. And then the other times we're like, nope, they should have done our movie. That would have been better.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll
and maybe
they'll discover us.
Maybe one day Hollywood will take notice and hire us to give some pitches. Right. Some actual
They'll
pitches.
be having trouble with the script, and they'll call on the Sully brothers to come in and tweak it and get it right. Be like, those guys get it right every time. Or at least 60% of the time it works every time, right?
Great quote. Eventually the Russo brothers will call on the Sully brothers, and we'll all collaborate, and then maybe the Wachowski siblings will get involved. I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
Sure.
It's a family affair.
It's a family affair.
One thing to note before we get too far into this is I did not, and I don't think you did either, I didn't read the synopsis that has been dropped online for Coming to America 2. I avoided it like the plague because A, I didn't want to know, but then B, once we decided to do this, I didn't want to be tainted by their thoughts. So I did all mine completely free of that, then read their synopsis.
Me too. I actually just hadn't done any following, and it really is. There's not much out there, really, which, there's different approaches to marketing movies and stuff, and I am both equally afraid when there's overdone marketing and then there's underdone marketing. Like, I never know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, and we discover it after the fact. But sometimes you can tell when the hype is all hype because they know they're only going to make the money on the opening weekend, and then reviews are going to come out and they're going to cut all the marketing because that's all the money they were going to plan to spend on it. And then there's times where it's so secretive that either it's a really awesome movie and they didn't want to ruin any of the gags, or it's terrible and they didn't even want to spend on the initial marketing for that opening weekend. So at this point, I haven't really seen much on it. And yes, prior to writing my own pitch, I did not read their synopsis. But I think we should jump in. I want to talk a little bit about the original, Coming to America, with a T-O instead of a 2. This movie came out in 1988. Wow. And we were alive then. We're very old. If you haven't seen it, shame on you. I know it's like one of those classic films now. I guess the old folks talk about it all the time. We're the guys in the barbershop at this point, I guess. Anyway, coming to America 1988, here's a synopsis. An extremely pampered African prince travels to Queens, New York, and goes undercover to find a wife that he can respect for her intelligence and will. And that's really bad. Like, that's a poorly written synopsis. But here is my, hopefully worse, I guess, written synopsis. An illegal immigrant works at McDonald's until his employees discover his fraudulent identity, and he is forced to return to his country in Africa. And you had one as
well? Yeah, I wrote one as well. I've got an unexperienced traveler and his friend visit a U.S. city literally by the flip of a coin to avoid their obligations and find love.
Yeah, it is nice. And I guess it worked out for them. They spin the globe, right? And then they have to pick where they're going. And where does a king find someone worthy of him? Well, Queens.
Oh, Queens, yeah. Of course.
Makes perfect sense. That is a pretty good gag. Like, that's funny. That's yeah. Good.
I mean, I know the writer, when they were writing that, was like, "Oh, nailed it. Yeah. Got this."
And then they cut to Queens, and it is just a terrible, terrible place.
Yeah, it's not much better now.
Yeah, I remember this movie first time I saw it. I mean, it was I was probably way too young to see it, but it was genuinely hilarious. It's just as funny now. Like, you watch these things, and there's a lot of movies you watch as a kid, and you get some of the jokes, and then you watch as an adult, and you get some of the other jokes. And this movie really has all that. It's not really for kids at all, but there is some basic, sort of slapstick, sort of easy comedy that comes through this stuff, and then you get the things, like the royal penis is clean and all that sort of stuff, where that's just hilarious. I mean,
the royal penis is clean, Your Highness.
There's some good stuff, and this is Eddie at his best. I mean, Eddie's been all over the place. But let's talk about the movie. I'll get into that, and obviously I have a fondness for Eddie Murphy. I think most people do. This movie has Eddie Murphy or Arsenio Hall in the main roles. It's another buddy film for Eddie. His first time doing multiple characters in makeup, which, if you've seen Nutty Professor and all these movies that he does where he plays the multiple characters, it's funny every time, and he's really good at it. Like, he can do all these different things. But I mean, that's his stand-up history kind of working in there. It's he can take on these different personas, and he does each one of them very well. But he did it so well. So did Arsenio. They both play a few different roles in this movie, and all of them are very, very good. And the makeup's really good too. I think this was wasn't this Baker that did the.
I think you're right. I think I saw that in the opening and was pretty surprised by it.
Yeah, I mean, you have him do the makeup and you're going to be all right. So and there's a history of Eddie here. Eddie has had several faces in his career, from raunchy stand-up to action and comedy movies, these smooth romantic comedies that we saw in the mid-'90s, to wacky family comedies. He's done animated films and TV shows. Nobody else is as prolific or able to move from these vulgar, offensive jokes that, if you haven't seen Raw, his stand-up stuff from, early 80s there, you need to watch it, because especially if you don't know that Eddie, and you've only seen the modern Eddie, then you're missing out on a whole era of him, and a totally different side. You'd kind of be shocked, I think, frankly, to see that if you'd never seen it before. And I think you were supposed to be. That's the point.
If you were a child of the late 80s, early 90s, you may only know him from like the Disney and family-friendly stuff and Shrek voiceover work. Mm-hmm. I find it hard to believe that you could be on this planet for more than 20 years and not know that Coming to America and Beverly Hills Cop and Trading Places and all those even exist.
Yeah.
But if you haven't tried them, like you said, you need to. You need to see the Eddie that's about to come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do think there is this is a new era for him. I think it's sort of a revisitation, or at least this is what I'm hoping. There's a kind of a blend here. I mean, there's stuff that's going to be good for, I'm not going to say it's a family show, but it's not going to be quite as vulgar as his original stuff, but I still think he's going to work in some of those older kind of vulgar jabs maybe every once in a while. I don't know, but I don't think he's going to be the cartoon donkey anymore. So he's been doing this for 4 decades. I mean, that's amazing. Before coming to America, he'd already done 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2, and 2 of my favorite films of all time, Trading Places and The Golden Child. I mean, talk about classics. I mean, these are just amazing movies. Trading Places, Golden Child, Beverly Hills Cop, the whole series. Between all those movies, I've probably seen them all 30, 40 times. Like, easy, right? Like, how many times have you...
Yeah, easily.
How many times? And Golden Child, like, it should have been one of those weird throwaway movies that I would have said, no, don't do that. That's a weird movie to do. And he made it awesome. Yeah.
I want the knife.
Please. Yeah.
God,
yeah, right.
Such a good
you
film.
got a booger on your jacket there. Thanks. Anybody see a little naked guy running around with a $20 bill?
We need to do that one on another movie retake.
Yeah, we should. I think they are actually supposed to do another Golden Child. I think they're going to do a sequel.
We got to get ahead of it.
Yeah, we'll probably do that one. But Trading Places too. I mean, that movie's brilliant, and I've rewatched that one. I don't know. I probably say I'd watch that one at least once every 2 years, and I laugh every damn time. Like, it's just so good. Arsenio Hall is kind of the odd man out here. He was virtually unknown, I think, to everybody before doing this movie. The most I knew him from was the voice of Winston Zeddemore in the Real Ghostbuster cartoon series. You remember that? I think we both watched that one, and it was really good.
I remember that existing, but I don't remember watching it that much, unfortunately.
I did. It was a great show. Pulling Slimer in as like a main buddy character was, I think, a brilliant move because everybody loves Slimer. He was like the baby Yoda of our team, I guess. Slimer was the everybody wanted a Slimer doll or whatever. So a year after this movie came out, Arsenio got his late night talk show, and that's you cannot argue that was totally off the success of Coming to America, because this movie was huge when it came out, and it still is. I mean, everybody that's seen it loves it. You can't argue that it's genuinely hilarious.
The budget for this was only around $40 million, and U.S. it made $128 million. Worldwide, almost $300 million.
That's insane.
Which at that time were just astronomical numbers.
It is. I don't know. Is that like up to date numbers, or is it supposed to be just in that year when it comes out? I'm not sure if those...
I believe that's up to date, but just on box office, not home video sales. Which you think about VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, all those different formats over the years. It's probably made another $200 million just off that.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, it's and he probably could have gone off to do like... he could have marketed this thing to have like Zamunda. Well, you have a Zamunda T-shirt, but I was thinking, he could have done everything with like that guy. It takes all he says, you guys want to buy a gold toothbrush or whatever?
Yo, you want to buy some toothbrushes, man? This is some real fly personal hygiene equipment I got here, man. And I got a hell of a hair dryer over here, too. Check it out.
My shirt didn't come until 2 years ago. I don't think they merchandised this at all at the time. At least I don't remember ever seeing anything.
No, I don't think so either. And that's probably not even through the studio or anything. That's probably some offshoot. Somebody did that T-shirt. But, it's a different time, I guess. We didn't really have, Eddie Murphy dolls and, there was no Beverly Hills Cop like play set that came out, at the time.
That reminds me of something. I've been watching The Goldbergs, which if you don't watch that and you're a fan of the 80s, you absolutely should. This is to everyone listening, but you should definitely. And in that, every week, the kid that's the lead character, he has posters all over his walls like Time Bandits and Indiana Jones and all these things. But every week he's wearing a shirt from that era. Like he has like an Atari shirt and he has an Indiana Jones shirt. I'm like, I don't remember seeing any of this crap when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Where was this available at and why didn't we have it?
Yeah, you're right. I really don't know if the T-shirts were a big thing then, but I do remember posters were. Like posters were our only sort of collectible option, I think, at the time, and everybody had posters on their wall. Like you had that was a huge thing. They had the magazines with the young movie stars and stuff. and guys and girls.
Teen Bop.
Yeah, the teen bops and
Tiger Beat.
Yeah, sure. And I don't think it was just girls that were picking up those magazines. Like everybody was interested. That was kind of the the Entertainment Tonight or the People magazine or whatever. That was our way into knowing what's going on with the stars and stuff. And then I think they came with posters in the magazines.
Yeah, it was almost like a fold-out, because I would buy them for Tiffany, the singer.
Yep.
And they had it was essentially the Playboy centerfold, but it was not a centerfold.
Yeah, a little bit of imagination required to take some of the clothes off there. But it was it was like their headshot, essentially. And then then we'd go from there. But yeah, everybody had posters on their wall. But that was the thing. So I do think that Arsenio was great in this. And a year later, him going to the talk show was, it was successful for him. Good move for him. That should have happened. But I also kind of wonder if that deprived of us of another really good comedic actor. Like, I think that he could have gone on to do more stuff in movies and everything, and I think he would have been good. And I could totally picture him being in Boomerang or even the Nutty Professor. Like, he could have gone on voicing Donkey and Shrek. Like, why not?
I'm gonna pray for you. And I want you to hold on to God's unchanging hand, because he helped Joshua fight the battle of Jericho. Yes. He helped Daniel get out the lion's den. He helped Gilligan get off the island. Lord.
But if Eddie was always going to be there, Eddie would have outshone him. And I wonder, this is conjecture, but I wonder if Arsenio kind of knew that. Like, he was always going to be second fiddle, if you will, in those roles, and took a TV spot. I don't know. But either way,
it's possible.
Glad he did both, really, because I liked the Arsenio Hall show. He was really funny on that show. And that was kind of our...
Oh, yeah.
That was well, I mean, all the other programs were the old folks, right? Like, that was the young, hip...
Yeah.
Sort of.
He was going up against Johnny Carson at the time, and Johnny definitely was having all his old buddies. Sinatra was on, and what 8-year-old kid gives two flips about Sinatra?
Yeah.
Now I do.
Yeah.
But at the time, no, Arsenio's going to have on this new governor who might become president. Bill Clinton's going to play saxophone.
Right.
There was all kinds of random stuff like that.
Yeah, it was cool. So John Landis directed Coming to America. He also did Trading Places in 1983. Fantastic combination with Eddie and him on this movie. Before Trading Places, Landis had done Animal House, The Blues Brothers, and American Werewolf in London, which one of the best comedic horror films I've ever seen. And I think, I don't know, but he may have invented that genre. Like, I don't know of anything that was equally terrifying and hilarious at the same time. Still one of my favorite movies. It's just so good. And if you haven't seen that one, listeners, then you need to go watch that. Actually, you should watch Trading Places and Animal House and, even The Blues Brothers. Not everybody likes that movie, but it has a lot of value, and especially for the era, getting to see all those musical acts and stuff. That's really good stuff in there. Blues Brothers 2000, meh, you can skip that one.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody saw it, actually, and I don't think I ever saw it. I just kind of knew. I was already aware it was going to be pretty bad. So before Coming to America, he had also put out Spies Like Us, great movie. Three Amigos, fantastic. Both of those are 80s Chevy Chase films. Sadly, though, after Coming to America, such a huge hit, Landis kind of dropped the ball. He did Oscar, which I actually, oddly enough, mentioned last week. I did not know that he directed that until I looked that up in the notes, because who cares? It was not a good movie. Beverly Hills Cop 3. No, you like that? I thought it was a big miss. I don't know anybody that liked that movie. It was just, there's nothing happening. It was a weird time for Eddie, too. Like, he'd got that different haircut and stuff. What was that other movie he did? Metro? And he had the little... Oh, yeah. But I don't know. I think he was trying to get too... It was different. Like, the comedy wasn't there. He was trying to do more action, like Wesley Snipes kind of roles or something like that. And it fell flat for me. And then Landis did Blues Brothers 2000, which, crap. So yeah, for me, Landis, this was his last real good movie. And after that, it just kind of went away. which is real sad.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
How does somebody create that many amazing films and then just overnight, like sans a stroke? Like, how do you possibly live on this earth and just drop off so badly?
Well, it's like we were saying earlier. I mean, there's so many different elements that go into a movie, and I honestly think that nobody knows, like, until the audience reactions, until the ticket sales start going through, no one knows if a movie's good or not, because you're so into it. When you've made it, you've put all the elements in, you do your best, but you really just don't know how people are going to respond to it. And I think that just happens. You hear that a lot too in like the commentary on movies that are successful, where they'll be like, yeah, we really didn't know if this was going to be good. And then, they start reading the reviews and stuff and hearing people, and the response is huge. And then, there's the other responses too, where it just didn't work out. A lot of elements, and they all need to align. Not everything does. So this was in 1988. Huge year for movies in all genres. Listen to this list: Die Hard, Big, Cocktail, Twins, Rain Man, Beetlejuice, Bull Durham, Bloodsport, Naked Gun, Scrooged, Young Guns, Willow, The Great Outdoors, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Holy hell, we were blessed that year.
That was a good year. I mean, come on.
And this was a time in movies when you didn't get 3 releases a weekend. You didn't even get one tentpole release a weekend. You got, like, I seem to recall every couple weeks something new would come out.
Yeah.
So they were just all hits that year. That is impressive.
Yeah, they were big. Like, that's a lot of good movies and lasting movies. Like, how many times have you seen Die Hard? How many times have you seen Big?
Oh.
How many times have you seen Beetlejuice? Hell, even Bloodsport. Like, Bloodsport, that's one of those kind of B movies, but Jean-Claude Van Damme, like, Frank Dux, like, that's an amazing movie. Like, it really is. It's really good. It's so cheesy, but the action's really great. I mean, that whole the fighting pit, like at the end with where he goes through all the different guys and stuff, man, it's a lot of fun. Young Guns, I mean, that hit. Like, that was just so cool. We didn't have westerns, that was our western. Like, when, our fathers and stuff were watching these old Clint Eastwood or John Wayne movies, and we're like, yeah, I don't get it. And then Young Guns comes out, and we're like, cool, this is what westerns are? I will take it.
I get it.
Yeah.
Now bring on Unforgiven.
It was Unforgiven, man, that's a great movie. And Great Outdoors. And then Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I mean, Who Framed Roger Rabbit was like revolutionary. Like, I know they'd done stuff. I think when was that big? And probably like the
late 80s?
Nah, they did stuff in like the 60s and stuff. Like, when did Mary Poppins come out, where they were combining like cartoons?
The live action merged with cartoons. Yeah.
But it hadn't been done in a long time. Probably because, everybody dismissed it as, it's a gimmicky, it's just throwaway kind of goofy stuff. And then they made it like really cool. Like, it was well done. It was dramatic. It was funny. It was that was a great movie. I highly recommend that one as well. All right, so that's the original. Honestly, like I said, there's a lot of nostalgia from us specifically about Coming to America, watching it again. I've seen it so many times. There's so many great one-liners in that, so many great scenes. The characters are great. James Earl Jones is amazing in that. Arsenio, Eddie. Who else is in there? It's just...
The dad, John Amos.
Yeah, John Amos.
I think was his name.
Yeah, he's really great. He's a great actor, and I really liked him in that. Who else?
Yeah, everybody was strong. Even the lead female who played Lisa. I didn't write down her name. I'm sure I could scroll to it here real quick. She was very good looking and not bad actress, but just when you're around all those other super strong actors, all you can do is hold on for dear life and pray you can come across good on screen.
Yeah, that's Sherry Headley. She's actually in the sequel, so she's going to be coming back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So is John Amos.
Huh.
Yeah. So there's going to be some people returning in the second one, and I'm glad they picked all the people actually that I picked. So I'm very happy about that, and I'm hoping they do a good job.
couple of notes before we move on. That one's a story, like you mentioned, that I have the Coming to America Zamunda shirt, which was actually Funko put out some pops a year ago. I was lucky enough that I've always been a fan of the movie, so as soon as it came out, I jumped on that shirt, which came with a gold Akeem pop. But did the whole line, though. There's even one of him in the McDowell's uniform holding the mop, which is one of my favorites. But actually, I've only worn that shirt like 5 times because I don't want it to deteriorate too much. And on like my third wear of it, I reached in the closet. I'm like, yeah, today's a good day for that. I swear to you not. The day I wore it was the day they announced that Coming to America 2 was coming out. So I have a photo of me at the office holding the pop with my mouth wide open going, can you believe this? Like, it was an omen that it happened to happen on that same day.
Yeah, you made it
What's
happen.
That? I guess so. I willed it to be.
You did.
You ain't lying. That's right.
But then recently, I found out through a buddy of mine who's a big-time shoe collector that Nike has actually done 2 different versions of Nike themed or shoes that are themed for Coming to America. One has the McDowell's plaid on there, and it's clearly a Coming to America. They put it in the title, and the other one has the African jungle print.
Oh, that's cool.
And both are pretty cool looking shoes, but I mean that just shows you the lasting, because I think those came out. I think they came out since the announcement, but they still show the lasting impression that this film from 32 years ago has had on pop culture and still continues to. And like we were talking about earlier, it's a shame that there weren't the merch, there weren't action figures, there weren't, anything other than the posters that we could have had as a kid to keep loving this film over the years.
Like how many kids, I don't know, maybe that's wrong, but how many adults would have wanted the McDowell's costume to wear for Halloween or something? That'd be hilarious. I would wear that now.
Awesome. Yeah, totally. Actually, matter of fact, that would be really good cosplay. I saw it at New York Comic Con 2 years ago. I just remembered because at that time I was in the Funko booth and we had a 2-pack that has him in the uniform, and I forget the other one might have been Randy Watson. And a guy walked by the booth in McDowell's cosplay, and I grabbed one off the shelf, chased him down. I was like, dude, can I get a photo of you holding this? And when he turned around, he had the biggest grin on his face, and so did I. And I was like, here, keep the 2-pack. You can have it just because you're awesome.
That's cool. Oh, man. I was just thinking about Louis Anderson in the movie. He's like, right now they got me washing lettuce, but pretty soon I'll be on fries. And then, was it like 5-6 years? Then I'll be assistant manager. And that's when the big bucks start rolling in. Man. That was a little cameo from him, but it was really funny.
Yeah, he was great because he was doing stand-up at the time. That's where we first found out about him. And the whole gag about, there's a shoe in the road.
I remember that, yeah. Louis is going to be in this
so
one,
funny.
too. I can't really... I'm really hoping he's not on lettuce anymore, but we'll see. That may be the actual joke, is that he's still washing lettuce. Sorry if I ruined that for everybody, but I'm guessing
Hurts
that's
my
what
heart.
they're going to do. And what is he like?
Poor fella.
He's got to be in his 80s now. He's still got to be old.
Oh, God. He probably at least looks like he's in his 80s. I know he's on that... there's a TV show with Zach Galifianakis on it.
Between Two Ferns?
I can't remember the name of it, of course. That he plays the mother on it. He wears dresses and talks in a higher tone all the time.
Yeah, I don't know that show.
My coworker's going to kill me because she loves it and she's always telling me I should watch it. But anyway.
We got the IMDb. Look it up.
Yeah, if only I could click on a name and it would tell me the complete history of an actor.
I know. Yeah, it's just never where you want it at your fingertips.
Oh, here, now I'm going to have it in 2 seconds. I'm clicking on it right now,
well,
and that's when your internet goes out right there. Baskets.
I don't know this. I don't know that show at all.
Yeah. It's been running for 3 or 4 seasons now.
Oh, well, then I can actually pick it up and start watching it.
Yeah, you can trust it
I
now.
can trust it, or at least it's got enough content where I won't be totally disappointed when they cancel it. All right, so Coming to America 2 is going to come out 2020. Do we have an actual exact date for that?
I don't think so. I think that typically falls when the first trailer falls. And at this time, we're recording, that trailer has not come out. I think what's going to happen, if I had to bet really good money, you and I are going to hold a few episodes before we launch this. That trailer is going to drop before this episode comes out. And people are going to be like, oh, well, they knew. No, we did not. We have not seen this trailer. I'm hoping it drops soon and we get a date. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Seems like summer thing to me, but it could be
It says
wrong.
in the UK release date it's supposed to be December 18th. So they're hoping for a Christmas grab.
Ooh.
That's bold because there's usually quite a bit coming out. But you know what? I don't know, would parents take their kids to this? Probably not. I don't know.
We don't know the rating yet either. They may have decided to go for more of a PG-13 approach on this one to get a wider audience.
That's true, and Eddie has been trying to invite more people into the realm there. Yeah, that's interesting too. I wonder if that's part of the thing they're working out too now. They might be arguing over small edits to get a certain rating so they can get a more audience. Yeah. Anyway.
Take out the boobs and a couple F-bombs and you got yourself a PG-13.
Yeah, right. So this is... So about the retake here, Coming to America's 2 is 2020. It's set after the events of the first film, so this is actually a true sequel. Former Prince Akeem Jaffer, Eddie Murphy, is set to become king of Zamunda when he discovers he has a son he never knew about in America, a street-savvy Queens native named Lavelle Germaine Fowler, honoring his royal father's, James Earl Jones's, dying wish to groom this son as the crown prince. Akeem and Simi, Arsenio Hall, set off to America once again. So... yeah, like I said, along with Eddie and Arsenio, Sherry Headley is going to be returning. That's his wife. He marries at the end, one of the McDowell daughters. John Amos, who was Mr. McDowell. James Earl Jones, everybody knows him. We're sad to hear that he's going to be fading away in the movie. I'm sure we'll get a death scene. Maybe he'll appear in the clouds to later on and give some words of wisdom. He'll be returning to his original roles. Louis Anderson still going to be there, probably still on lettuce. Vanessa Bell Calloway. This was the woman that Akeem was supposed to marry at the very beginning. He makes her bark like a dog and hop on one foot and stuff. And she's gorgeous too. Like, yeah, that would have been a tough decision. I think I would have probably married her. And Garcelle Beauvais, I think, is one of the Flower Girls, so she's going to be in it too. Newcomers will be Tracy Morgan, which I'm pretty excited about. I like Tracy Morgan. Leslie Jones, which I am not excited about. I'm not a Leslie Jones fan. Germaine Fowler, I don't know who this is. I don't think he's done much before. I think maybe some TV. And Wesley Snipes. Oh, man. I really like that Wesley's in this. He was great in Dolomite. And I'm hoping actually that this might be the beginning of a real comedy career for Wesley, because I think he's actually funny. And I was writing that down, and then I remembered Major League from 1989. Oh, and he was hilarious in that. So he's already established as a comedic actor, and I think this would be not only a cool fit for this world for Coming to America, but I'm hopefully he can do some more stuff in that world, because maybe he's a bit over the action stuff. Although I did hear rumors of there being more Blade activity later on, but
not with him though.
No.
They've recast it. Mahershala Ali is going to be Blade.
Yeah, I'm worried. I don't really know details, but maybe it's one of those things. You know how like dancers end up getting these terrible diseases where they can't dance anymore. There's something in their legs. Like I think Wesley probably has something with his back or something where he can't do the cool action moves anymore. It's something awful that nobody deserves. But
he's also older.
He is older, but
he's that could play
he
into
can kick
it
my
as well.
butt, I'm sure.
Same.
Craig Brewer is directing, and I would have said he's a bad choice, but Dolomite Is My Name is a superb movie. If you haven't watched it, you need to go watch it. And he directed that as well, and that's also with Eddie and Wesley. And I expect this to actually be pretty decent just based off of that, but I don't know.
It's too early. I hate to be one of those people that say, "Oh, you're ruining my childhood" or any of that crap. I think those are ignorant comments. But based on the synopsis, I'm not a big fan, because just having rewatched the movie, at what point is he going to have a son running around? We saw all of his activities, and there was no whorehouse visit at any point during the film.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
No, you're right. I do have a problem. I'm going to go into that on my pitch as well, and it sounds like you're going to have that in yours, where I disagree with the plot as well. But for the jokes and the general directing ability, I think this guy's an okay choice for that alone.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, so for new takes, this is where we each give our pitch for what we think the movie should actually be. It may end up matching what actually comes out. It may be totally different. But either way, this is sort of our vision of what Coming to America 2 would be.
I guess my approach to these, I sat down and I really actually type out quite a bit. I hope this isn't too lengthy, but I really try to think through a movie I'd want to see, right? So I'm going to read you. I hate to do that because it sounds a little too drafted, but I'm going to read you my synopsis. Then I'm going to give you the title and the director. I'm going to save that till the end because I think the synopsis is much more important. So, 32 years in the future, we return to Zamunda to find Prince Akeem and his queen Lisa. Things in the land have changed drastically, and their time of prosperity and wealth have come to an end. After visiting New York in 1988, they agreed that it wasn't best for Zamunda to adopt any of the outside influence that the rest of the world might have to, I'm putting in air quotes, offer their country, because they saw how bad New York was, right? But with the changes to their own country, it was time to make some decisions. Akeem and his trusty sidekick Simi decide to return to America with their children, so I do have a children play at this. Okay. Akeem's son, who I want to be played by John David Washington, that's Denzel Washington's son, and Simi's daughter, played by Zendaya.
Oh, okay.
Like the ages kind of work out, and I really like her. So, to find some possible business opportunities and see what ideas they can glean from America, which has changed drastically since their last visit. So kind of in this scenario, they have stayed away from it. They don't really have the internet or all these things. They've stayed much like Wakanda, secluded from the rest of the world, right? But Wakanda's rich, Zamunda's not. Since their first trip was decided by a coin flip and ultimately worked out pretty well, they decided to do the same thing again and land on the City of Angels, Los Angeles, as their destination. Their journey takes them through iconic Los Angeles landmarks and lands meetings with several large companies to discuss opportunities that might bring more money into Zamunda, including, and this is where I had some fun, one, they go for a meeting at a company, and somewhere on one of the boards that they go to check in, Soul Glow is seen, but it's been clearly marked out for many years because who's wearing Jerry curls these days, right? So it failed. It's out. But you got to have a reference to Soul Glow somewhere in there. Then they have a meeting with the head of a film company, played by Samuel L. Jackson, in which Akeem and Simi comment that he looks very familiar. And as indicated by the posters in their lobby, all of their films focus on bank heists and robberies.
Yeah, that's good.
We never get the answer on if it's the same guy that held up the McDowell's 5 times.
That's great.
And then finally, not finally, one more before the final one. They also have a meeting with a large real estate company headed up by actor Frankie Faison, the landlord from their building in New York.
I'm going to let you boys stay in my apartment, and I'll move up here.
Does your apartment look poor?
Yeah, it's a real shithole. You'll love it.
And then the finally, and this one's going to twist your brain right here. I'm not going to set it up. I'm going to say it first. Finally, a meeting with one Louis Winthorpe III, one of the featured characters from Trading Places, played again by Dan Aykroyd, who has turned his luck into even larger fortunes and has moved his new business to L.A. I love the fact that they tied it in to Trading Places in the first film.
Me too.
And I thought it'd be really fun to play on that again here. So they're all the same universe. Yeah. So Louis and Akeem have almost come to an understanding with Louis Winthorpe III when another group enters the picture, offering an even better deal to Zamunda, but, as the audience can see, has a different plan in mind to take advantage of their trust and take over the country Zamunda for their own benefit. Akeem and Simi's children, who are roughly in their 20s, help piece together the plan of this new group, Duke Industries, run by the heirs of Mortimer and Randolph Duke, and eventually convince Akeem and Simi that the deal is not in their best interest. Ironically, as only the audience would understand, it's Akeem's kindness in the first movie that led to the success of Duke Industries, which wouldn't have even existed if Mortimer and Randolph hadn't got that McDowell's bag full of cash. So they ultimately come back around to be the villains. Even though they're dead, it's still the name of their company that causes the problems.
That's great.
I couldn't fill in anything else. It's pretty loose to that point. So I think eventually Akeem and Sami return to Zamunda with a deal in place that will help the country flourish once again, but their children decide to stay in Los Angeles to help run the business dealings from the U.S. end of the deal, opening up a possible part 3 in the franchise that focuses more on them and less on Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall's characters. So that's what I came up with.
That's great.
I honestly, after hearing what they pitched, I want to see my version more. I think that theirs is loose and weak, but we haven't seen it yet, so you never know. They could redeem it with the actual storytelling.
Yeah, that's true. And there's probably a lot of subplots and stuff that we don't. They gave us hardly anything to go off of, so I mean, there could be so much more.
It'd be great if they were just messing with us and that's not the plot at all. I would love that, honestly.
Could be. You never know. I don't know how wiki like this is and who gets to write these things. It could just be some schmo who was guessing at what it was. Who knows?
They're waiting on us to pitch, and then they're going to run with it.
Just wait to see what the Sully brothers say. All right, what's the...
title would be Coming, the number 2, America, which I debated this months ago before we find out that that's the title, so that happened to play out. But it's Coming, number 2, America, City of Angels. So at least it stands apart from its original. And, of course, Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, all of them are back. I think we might have James Earl Jones reference or sighting, but I don't think he should be a main part in it. And then finally for director, big departure. I tried to think of whose comedy I really like that's telling good stories and having lots of fun with it. And I'm going with Mike Judge, who directed Beavis and Butthead, Office Space, and Silicon Valley. I think he could do this justice. I would love to see him give it a whirl.
Yeah, I do like Mike. I think he is a good director. I think he gets... I don't know, his comedy's always a little bit different, and I really enjoy it. I like all of his comedy and stuff. But it's
and in many ways, Office Space reminded me of some of the humor in Coming to America. It's a big leap, but I get a vibe there that I think jives.
Could be. Have you seen... Mike does a series, now I've forgotten what streaming platform it's on, but it's this, what's it called? On the tour bus or something like that. Essentially, I've only seen a couple episodes, but basically he goes and interviews these old roadies that, or friends of, or whatever, of people
Oh, here it is.
Oh, you've got it.
Mike Judge presents Tales from the Tour Bus, a TV series documentary.
Yeah. So he goes back and interviews people of famous musicians and stuff, just to hear stories about them, and then he animates them because it's Mike Judge.
Okay.
And so when he does the reenactments and stuff, and rather than having to go and film that and cost any money, he just does the animation of it. And there's some really good stuff. It's very good.
Smart.
I've seen 3 episodes and I've enjoyed all of them. So I'd recommend that to you.
Let's check that out.
All right, so I agree with you on, a few things, I think. So here's my pitch. And yeah, part of my agreement is that I don't believe this whole thing about Akeem having a kid. I'm not going to say he was a virgin. I believe he probably did spend a few extra hours with his royal bathers. But I never questioned his character's quest of finding true love in America, and in that suggesting that he slept with anyone else, it just seems wrong. So immediately, yeah, I'm dismissive of it. Simi was completely opposite. I believe he would have kids all over Queens. Because I think he tried to get around as much as he could. There's a lot of scenes that we probably didn't see where he was with some ladies. His father, however, King Joffrey, I think that would be a different story. I picture him having a bastard child as quite feasible. So with that in mind, here is my retake on Coming to America 2, A King to Be. After his father's abdication from the throne, Akeem has taken his place as king of the great land of Zamunda. Years into his reign, however, Zamunda has suffered a cultural rift, the people embracing Western culture while condemning the lavish lifestyle of their royal rulers. There's a little bit of overlap there with us. The unintentional instigator of the class struggles is none other than Cleo McDowell and his chain of fast food restaurants littering the neighborhoods of the Zamundan people. Torn between her family and her place at her king's side, Queen Lisa's happiness is slipping away. With their relationship visibly strained, Akeem considers resigning as king to save his marriage, but his people are in desperate need of unification. Zamunda's other leaders lean too far in each political direction to be a suitable replacement for Akeem, and I didn't really create a villain, but I think that might be one of our villains, is somebody there who wants the throne. So we could have that kind of early on and maybe later. Akeem and Lisa never had children, so there are no heirs to the Zamunda throne, at least none that Akeem knows about. With a small cameo from J.E.J., James Earl Jones, the former king lets his son know that he may have one or two long-lost brothers or sisters that could step into his place, only he doesn't know where they are. The mothers, sworn to secrecy over the king's infidelities, sent their half-royal children to lands far away from Zamunda. Guess where? Now, with help from his trusted advisor, Simi, Akeem must travel all over America to track down his many brothers and sisters, grooming one to unite Zamunda citizens in harmony as the first American/Zamundan king. After meeting several Jaffer siblings, all of whom are miserably underqualified, Akeem finds Malcolm, a kind and patient history teacher at an underfunded inner-city high school. He spends his days and nights helping troubled students, keeping the peace between the various cliques and racially diverse cultures in the wild hallways of his school and his own neighborhood. When he hears Akeem's story, learning his own origins, along with Akeem's plans to find a new king of Zamunda, Malcolm, played by Donald Glover, struggles to first believe his newfound brother, then come to terms with what might be his chance to make a huge difference in the history of an entire country. That's the basic plot, and I really like Donald Glover coming in. I like that guy a lot, and I think he'd be a great addition. The American. So here's some side plots. The American McDowell's restaurants were shut down in America. Patrice McDowell betrayed the family by becoming a big executive at McDonald's, only to surprise everyone at the end by revealing she had only intended on stealing all McDonald's proprietary secrets with hopes of reviving McDowell's in their home country. When she rejoins her family in Zamunda, however, they decide to take a new direction. They open a high-class restaurant chain called Queen Lisa's and capitalize on their royal daughter's status. That sounds very McDowell's to me, how they would use their own daughter. Simi never settled down with anyone and has reached an age where he genuinely wants someone to be with in his later years. And I thought they could have a private guide who accompanies both of them on their American travels. He falls in love with her, and despite rocky beginnings, and the two end up together by the end of the movie. Honestly, I really like this. I think there's some good stuff in here. Like I say, I didn't really flesh out a villain, but there's plenty of drama to work off of. And I think with all the candidates being siblings of Eddie Murphy, that gives him plenty of opportunity to play all these multiple roles because they're going to look like him. So it's all his brothers and sisters. He could play all these different people. And in all these different cultures, he could have a brother in Texas, he could have a sister in Boston, whatever. He could play all these different characters. Go around, you're not gonna spend a ton of time, but you could have like 10-15 minutes of good solid gags with all that sort of stuff until he finally finds Donald Glover. I would have as much of the original cast as possible, and it looks like they did that. I would leave out the barbershop guys because I don't see how they'd still be alive. That was a long time ago, but I did read somewhere that they actually are going to be in the movie, which I just don't get. I don't see how they're going to do that. Maybe they'll be like ghosts. They'll be like Jedi ghosts floating in the background or something.
Or we go back and they help explain how he has a kid.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Like during that time, they knew something.
You're right. So it won't be present day them. It'll be some sort of like side thing that we didn't see, like something that happened in the original that we didn't get to see.
Yeah,
okay.
That would be a fun twist to go back and show some of the story from back then. I'd like that.
Yeah. Plus, they were great characters.
I mean, we're getting off topic here. Were you done with your pitch? I don't want to.
A couple more things. Well, I wanted to get into the.
Okay, do that, and then I'll share another theory I have.
You mentioned Soul Glow. I would kind of like to see Eric LaSalle come back because I really like him. He was really funny in the first one. I just didn't really fit in how he was going to do. But yeah, I think with this being, for me, I see this as very much a drama and comedy. I think we get a real chance here with the whole family and children sort of things to get some real depth from some characters, but also some really solid laughs. For directors, I would have picked Judd Apatow or Paul Feig, who honestly hasn't done anything great since Spy. Spy was fantastic. Bridesmaids was great.
Yep.
But I think that guy needs a win, and I think this would be a good one for him. But like I said, what's his name, Craig Brewer. I think that might be a good choice. I'm okay with it. Anyway, that's it for me.
No, I like your pitch a lot. When I was doing mine, I struggled to work McDowell's in some way, and I thought about it for a second. What would McDowell's look like in Zamundus? I'm glad you played that part in. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I like that take. That's funny.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Going to the synopsis they provided, I've got an idea on how he could have a kid that doesn't screw up the original story. What if the old barbershop guys kept the ponytail as like a some sort of trophy that they hang up on the wall, and then someone else who would play the villain comes along when cloning becomes a thing, and they clone who would become his son, I'm putting in air quotes, from the ponytail.
What's cloning?
I don't know.
Where does that fit in?
It's a slapstick comedy. I mean, why not?
And then they mix it with the fur from James Earl Jones's like lion cape thing, and he's some sort of half-breed lion Akeem combo.
This is beautiful. What is that, velvet?
Yeah. So, yeah, all right, sure. Why not? Anything's open for grabs at this point. All right, so I think both of those are good pitches. I think there's some good elements in there. I think we will see some of those. I don't see. Yeah, they're kind of, and I think it's interesting when we do these too separately is that we do kind of hit on the same sort of elements. So it's natural to assume that other people are going to have gravitate to these sorts of ideas too. So I think we'll see some of that, and we do get to see who's in it. So John Amos being in it, I'm hoping is a key figure, and we do see a lot more McDowell's jokes. It's risky at the same time. It's right, like when you do these sorts of things, you want to nod to the first one, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to just recycle the same jokes. And I'm really hoping it's not one of those. You gotta. There should be like a percentage, like a safe percentage. You can do like 10 to 15% of the same jokes, but that's it. If you take it beyond that, then we're bored.
Then you're just looking at another Teen Wolf 2. It's the same movie, but it's boxing.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna get here. Yeah, and that's probably, if we look up IMDb, that's the description. It's Teen Wolf.
It's the same movie, but it's boxing.
Yeah. So there are some fun facts here, if we're ready to move on to that sort of thing. Eddie Murphy said the sequel came out after attempts to turn the first film into a play fell through, followed by a pitch meeting he had with Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther and Creed. Murphy said that although he didn't like Coogler's idea for a sequel, it got him thinking about developing his own storyline for a sequel. And honestly, if Coogler hadn't been involved, I wouldn't have gone to see this.
It would have been very different.
Because I don't believe, Black Panther and Creed, like, great movies. Well, Creed is a great movie, but I don't see him doing comedy. I just don't.
No,
that's just not his thing. Yeah, so
it's a very serious dude.
Yeah, I'm glad he did, and I can only assume that his idea was grittier and more dramatic and just wildly inappropriate. So
that brings up a good point. I don't know if you said it in the beginning, but the original film was actually written by Eddie Murphy.
I didn't say
which
that.
Is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's written the new one as well, but I mean, and how many of those other films that we listed off earlier on did he have a hand in writing, or was that his first attempt?
I did not look that up.
It looks like Eddie Murphy also wrote Beverly Hills Cop 2, Another 48 Hours, Boomerang, Vampire in Brooklyn, Norbit, Boomerang TV series, which I didn't know it even existed, and is listed as a writer for Coming to America 2.
Yeah, that's cool. The McDowell's restaurant was actually a Wendy's on Queens Boulevard that was scheduled to be closed for renovation. The production had approval from McDonald's corporate headquarters, which apparently didn't pass the word down to their local outlets. On the day the McDowell's sign went up, the manager of the McDonald's, 1/2 mile up the road, arrived with his lawyer, took photographs, telling the set dressing crew they were going to be sued for everything they were worth. I wonder if that's him in the movie, actually taking the pictures. The restaurant remained in business until early 2013.
What?
How can that be? Now it's demolished.
That's insane.
But it had to have gone back to a Wendy's. Okay, yeah. So it wasn't like they left it up as McDowell's. All right, so I'm an idiot.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. But side note to that, a couple years ago in New York, they did do a pop-up McDowell's for a few weeks. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to it. They didn't time it right where I was going to be in the area. But I always wanted to go in and check it out. It'd been really cool if it was that same building or in the same area. I guess if that one's demolished, it would make sense. But I wanted to see that so bad. And I never have looked up photos. So those might be out there if anybody wants to check them out.
Yeah. You mentioned the Duke brothers showing up in this, and I thought I had read, I don't have it in my notes, but I thought I read somewhere in here too that they were going to try and get what's his name, Frank Beeks from Trading Places. The guy, he's like they hire him to do all their shady work, but he couldn't do it because he was going to be working on another movie or something. And so your idea of bringing in Dan Aykroyd, I think that's a great idea. I would like to see them do that because, unfortunately, Ralph Bellamy and Don Amici are no longer with us. So, I think having another nod in there would be really funny, and I like that concept too.
Yeah, and
why
who
not
else?
Bring the Dukes back at least in that form as their company name or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
In the credits, the fictitious Zamundan Film Commission is thanked.
That's crazy. I didn't see that. That's really funny.
I found that after I'd written Zamundan in my pitch. I was like, what would you call them? Zamundan. And I went with Zamundan. It just sounded right. So it apparently sounded right to them too.
Yeah.
The name of the fictional African country the main characters are from is called Zamunda. This name was taken from a Richard Pryor routine where he referred to a fictional African tribe of the same name. Cool. That's cool.
That's nuts.
Let's see. John Landis. Now this is a little bit crazy. I had never heard this, so I had to say it. John Landis had a bad reputation due to a string of flops and a manslaughter charge for an accident during the film of the Twilight Zone movie that killed 3 people, including 2 children. I had never heard of this before. And I honestly, I didn't go to confirm this anywhere else. This is IMDb. So maybe it's not true. I hope it's not, but that's awful. In an interview with Playboy, Eddie Murphy said, yeah, he's done 4 fucked up movies in a row, and I knew he'd spent a lot of money on his trial. I went to Paramount and said I wanted to use Landis, but they had reservations. His career was fucked up, but I said, I'm going to use Landis. I liked the guy. I used to always say that the one fun experience I had with a director, and I've worked with directors I really liked, Marty Brest, Walter Hill, Tony Scott, was with Landis because he plays around a lot on the set. I made Paramount hire him. So that dude was done for. And sadly, now we know more, right? So why did he go off?
Yeah.
This was his only shot at doing anything. And after this, like, Eddie was the only one probably in his corner. Like, he was basically
That's
ruined.
Crazy.
That's so sad. Like, he's probably ruined personally too, but financially, and then just nobody wants to work with him. I mean, you can't kill people in your movies and then people want to hire you again.
No, it's frowned upon.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not harsh enough.
Twilight Zone movie is pretty good, though. I like that movie.
It is.
Now I'm trying to envision, where was there? So there's 2 kids. There's kids in that the last section where they have that weird house that the kid imagines, but I don't really remember any car scenes in there. I don't know.
Well, I can't imagine that if there was a death for one of the scenes that they used that one. I would think that they would just cut it out and replaced it with something else.
Like,
this
well,
isn't
I don't
Faces
know, it's
of
good
Death.
footage. We should keep it in there. Yikes.
God.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Is it? All right. So,
Too soon.
I said, now we get to talk about, we talked about the original. We loved it. We talked about the retakes here, giving our pitch and what they're actually doing as much as we know. And now we need to honestly talk about whether or not we think this is a good idea that they are going to do this, or they have done this movie that is coming out. What do you think?
Once again, I don't like these comments I see on the internet. Like, I post about this stuff all the time, and if it's a reboot, it gets people riled up, or a sequel, and they'll use phrases like, "You're ruining my childhood," "Don't." I just don't understand it. Look at Anchorman, right? Anchorman 1 was a fabulous movie. I'll watch it over and over and over again. The second one was straight poop. I watched it once. I'm done with it. I put it away. I still love the first one. Doesn't detract from it at all. So I say, while these guys are alive and we have the opportunity, yes, let's do it. Just do it with care. Try to do your best. Like you said earlier, we don't know until these films come out if they're going to be a success or not. And if it turns out to be a flop, we still have the original. We can still pop that in and watch it anytime. I'm totally fine with it. I say yes, they should.
I agree. I think it's a great example. Anchorman, the 1 versus 2. Like, we basically just, it's like Rocky 5. We just don't talk about that one. It's okay. We'll just put that one aside. Yeah, Tommy the Machine Gun
Morrison.
I'm sure it was great on paper. But, so I agree. But I don't know, man. I have some reservations about this movie. I'm going to go see it. I will. And I really hope it's funny. But I'm going to sit down with a bit of anxiety because I am scared that they're basically just going to redo a bunch of jokes. The things they try and set up are going to fall flat. But, I'm going to try and be open-minded about it. That said, I think Eddie's going to be fine if it flops. I don't think it matters. I doubt it will. I bet opening weekend alone is going to be massive. I think everyone is going to go see this movie. But with he's got Triplets that's going to come out, the sequel to Twins, which I think is a great idea. Beverly Hills Cop 4, which I am very afraid of, but I don't know. I haven't read enough on it yet. Both of those are in the works. What I'm hoping for is with those coming out, is that this movie is really good, because I think the strength of this movie will fuel the initial ticket sales for those other projects. And granted, maybe the audience is different for each of these movies. There's not all the overlap. But at the same time, if you come out with this one, which is, all three of those fall in line with our whole thing here about the nostalgia for these original concepts, these original movies, and how much we loved them. And if you do well on this one, the first one that comes out, then I think we're going to be really psyched about the next couple of projects. So yes, I do think they should do it, because I think there is a hope that it will be good, or at least good enough.
To add on to my thoughts, and now that you've said a couple things, Hollywood does like the sequels and the reboots and the reimaginings because the name brings people in. And I think you definitely have Coming to America with the 2 in the middle. People are going to recognize it. They're going to want to see it. I think that's fine. Beverly Hills Cop the same way. Triplets is a very unique one, going from twins to triplets, but it'll really play into the way he plays multiple characters, like you were talking about earlier. I think a lot of people frown on this, but they keep flocking to theaters to see sequels and new trilogies, and it makes sense for them to try it, because how much could an Eddie Murphy movie cost compared to a Star Wars to make? You know, I mean, in Beverly Hills Cop, there's probably going to be some car chases and some blowing some stuff up. But in Coming to America 2, I don't really see a whole lot of special effects involved other than some makeup.
Then, maybe it's a different era now, but the original Beverly Hills Cops, yeah, they had some cool action sequences, but there wasn't like buildings blowing up or anything. These were all like in this, probably just the opening of the first one with the cigarette truck going through and smashing all these old cars in Detroit or whatever. Then that's probably the biggest cost of the movie.
So if you can make these for $40 or $50 million, that's probably half to a third of what most of the big movies are costing these days. And if you make that back in opening weekend, the rest is
most
great.
Of the cost is probably going to be Eddie Murphy's salary at this point.
I know you saw my face. We're looking at each other on Skype. I happen to think, what is Eddie Murphy worth these days? And I Googled it. $130 million. So he could afford to take on a couple of these projects himself. And I wouldn't be surprised.
I have to assume he's a producer on all
that's a lot of money.
That's the way you go once you get some money in Hollywood. You turn to production because that's where the money is.
I would think so. So I bet he's a big driving force for why these are even getting looked at. Something he's probably wanted to do for a long time. Yeah, just a reminder that we didn't talk about at the top, even though I made a note, is, hey guys, if you're listening to us, if you like the conversation, if you want to join in the conversation, jump on Twitter and check us out at Movie Retakes. No special characters, no underscores, no craziness, just at Movie Retakes.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks, brother.
Nerds Unite.
Just let your soul go. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul